Alrighty. Good. Hello to everybody. Welcome to Q&A Dice Tower. I'm starting a little bit early today, and that's because our Dice Tower Kickstarter for 2023, launches today at noon. So I'm going to launch it halfway through the Q&A. And I'm answering questions here for people asking questions, and I will give preference to anyone asking about Kickstarter stuff, if at all possible. If you're watching this, I'd like you to consider backing our Kickstarter. We run this once a year. It's our main fundraising for the Dice Tower. If you like what we do, all our content, our online content has been, and my goal is to keep it free. Anyone can go online and watch it, not a problem at all. But to do so, we do need some financial support. So if you'd like to support us, you can, and that makes it free for everybody. That's going to be at dicetowerkickstarter.com, so you can go look at, well, basically just a holding page for now, but we'll launch it at noon. Anywho, welcome. It's been a weekend. I just moved this past weekend to a new place, which is right around the corner here from the studio. A new house, a smaller house than we live in now, but that's okay. We're okay. First of all, I'm down from 6 kids to 4 kids, which is still a lot of kids, but 7 kids to 4 kids, sorry. Although I have 6 right now because 2 of my kids are here from college. But that was a very, very, very stressful, I mean, people say everyone hates moving, but man, do I ever. However, that being said, we're on the upswing of that now, like putting up pictures and unboxing boxes. And I always want to get it done the first day. That didn't happen. So then I want to get it done the second day. But I feel like today and or tomorrow we will be completely in that new house, although there's going to be little things that we're finding out and fixing and messing with and stuff like that. And I'm sure we'll forget as time goes by and all. But yeah, that made this weekend busy adding to the Kickstarter. If you like the way the Kickstarter looks, I want to give a lot of props. We had a lot of people here working on it. Roy put some graphics together for us. But Z and Camille really put heart and soul into this Kickstarter, and so I really appreciate that. People were guessing my hat color red. Well, that was nice. What cool new Kickstarter items will be this year? We have some parties that we're throwing at a couple conventions that you can come to, and also we'll have some live gameplay sessions with the Dice Tower people. Are you excited? Yes. Nervous? Yes. Or mostly exhausted with Kickstarter Move? With Kickstarter Move and prepping for the Dice Tower cruise coming up, because we moved on Saturday. On Friday, we packed up the library and shipped that out. And that is also a very exhausting, involved thing. How many cartoon dice people are available this year? I believe it was 30. What's my favorite piece for the Kickstarter this year? If you're talking about the pictures, I like the big overall picture. And in fact, if you haven't seen that, let me show you all what that looks like. So let me see here. There we go. There. I really like how this looks here. We'll zoom in a little bit. You can see my daughter Ruby is inside the gelatinous cube. Here on the Dice Tower, you got the main crew. Brian's out riding the dragon. We got a rainbow on the unicorn bridge. I mean, a unicorn on the rainbow bridge. I don't know if Mario driving down hit that. In the background is a giant. All the different characters, many different people. We got a minotaur here in the background, a lich coming out of the corner here. So there's all sorts of combat and fighting and silliness there. And this will be our puzzle and our large playmat. It's not our only playmat. We also have we have 2 playmats this year. The other one is going to look like this. I'm very happy with how this came out and looked at. So that's going to be the other playmat. So there you go. What date does the top 100 of all time starts? 2 weeks from today. So mine's done. I need to get that. Oh, you can vote on the People's Choice. You can go right now to the website, dicetower.com, to vote on that. Thank you, Eric, for the thanks here. Can I get a signed headshot of National Treasure Mike DeLizio? I don't know, but you can get a signed birthday card from us. Will I be doing anything special for the 500th episode of Breakfast? Maybe a stretch goal in the Kickstarter? I don't know. The 500th is still a bit away, isn't it? It's like 20, 30 weeks away, so I'll worry about that when we get closer to it. What does the Dice Tower get a greater percentage from? Kickstarter, YouTube, etc. I'd rather give you my monies without some facilitating corporation. Well, no, I don't disagree on that. The best way is, there is no really best way. Sending us a check in the mail is really the best way if you want to get us 100%, because that's really only 100%. If you PayPal us, PayPal takes like 3%. The Kickstarter takes, I don't know, 8%. Patreon and all the other things will also take percentages if you back us on YouTube and such. So I know that that's a pain in the neck, so we just suck it up for the Kickstarter percentage. Do I walk to work? Well, I will normally walk to work. I drove today because I had a bunch of boxes in the car. I know there's a limited time of cards in the Kickstarter. How do you know that? But it's true. What animals would you add to the game if you were asked to add a few more cards again next year? Next year? Oh, that's so far. I don't even... I'll worry about that later. How long did it take to set up the Kickstarter? I believe we've been working on it. For sure, they've been working full-time for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And then lots of extra work on that for months ahead of that. What offering within the Kickstarter are you most excited about? Okay, it's going to sound terrible, but I'm excited that we added a $60 pledge this year, which is just nothing. Because there's so much effort, and we talk about this every year, there's so much effort in getting the promos. And don't get me wrong, there's some cool promos and stuff, and I get that people like swag. But if you really want to help the Dice Tower out, I put a $60 pledge in there because it's $5 a month, and I think that's better than most streaming services, or cheaper. I don't know if it's better. Obviously, Netflix is better than the Dice Tower. And HBO, I'm not saying we're better than any of the streaming services, but if you watch us comparable to a streaming service, I thought $5 a month. So I'm hoping that people take advantage of that, because that helps us out the most. Let's see here. With the Kickstarter YouTube being potential revenue services, why doesn't Dice Tower have a Patreon to help supplement more consistently through the year? I've considered that many, many times, and in fact, Patreon has even talked to me about it. The main reason I have it is I just don't like asking for money all year round. We like talking about, I don't like asking for money ever, frankly. But I mention it, I'm okay with doing it once a year like this. Just like moving so much as Hop that we try to have less stuff every year just in case we have to. Well, I'm hoping to not move again for years and years in the future. Still wishing for a 3x5 table mat with Dice Tower photos. Well, you could always, I guess, make that yourself. But here's why we don't do it. Because we already have a hard time sending out and shipping things. A 3x5 table mat is extremely heavy and would be difficult for us to ship. We're not really a logistical company. Maybe it's been asked before, but is Cosmic Encounter the only semi-co-op that you like? I don't believe it's a semi-co-op. It's a competitive game. It's just possible for multiple people to win. That's all. What was your first played game of 2023? I don't remember the name of it. It's slipping my mind right now. But tomorrow, a video goes up called 6 Games I Played So You Don't Have To, and it was one of them. Have you considered opening a place where locals or people visiting Miami can go and play games from the Dice Tower library and maybe meet you guys? Well, I do. It's called Dice Tower Studios. We don't charge money to come here, but if you're ever in the area, if you give me a heads up on when you're coming in, it's possible that we can play games together. Okay, some people are asking my opinions on different games. I either have not played the game and or not reviewed it, or I'm about to review it. But either way, if I haven't reviewed it right now, it's in the Dice Tower library on the cruise ship, so we'll see. Tom, your deft touch with the box cutter sometimes scares me. Have you ever had any finger or game box related injuries in the service of filming boring unboxings? Twice. I cut myself slightly. And they were both just very freak accidents. I mean, that's how blade things happen, so. I would love a werewolf game hosted by you as a Kickstarter option. I did consider that. Is Essen a stretch goal again? It has to be. Essen has to be a stretch goal. It is. But it's so expensive to go. Will Kickstarter have detailed information on how much shipping is? No, but the Pledge Manager will have the shipping stuff in it. Honestly, we have to wait till the Pledge Manager happens because shipping changes. Tom, on your recommendation, I made my own cranberry sausage, Jack, for Christmas this year. Couldn't believe how easy and tasty it was. I know, it's crazy how much benefit it is to the effort going into it. I love it. And then you just try all sorts of things. There's all sorts of different recipes out there and different fruits you can mix in. How long will the Kickstarter run for? I believe it's 3 weeks. It starts today, and then 1, 2, 3, a week, 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2.5 weeks. It's going to go to, I forget how many days it is, but yeah. Who's riding the unicorn? I don't remember. Let's look here. I don't remember who that is. Tina sends me a list of everyone who that is, and I can look at it later to see who it is. How comes no one talks about the game Dungeon Run from Plaid Hat? I love that game and feel like it's a faded from memory. Well, it is. But that's like 98% of all games that come out every year. That's going to happen to them. That's why. What is the best time to try to play a game with you on a cruise or Dice Tower West? Oh, the same thing I always tell people. Early morning. I'm one of the first people down to the game room, and that's one of the best times to get a hold of me. How do you organize your Marvel United? For regular Marvel United, I was able to fit all of it in the regular box and the stretch goal box. For the X-Men, I just put in different characters I liked and that I'm going to play with soon, and then the rest is in a separate box, and I'll pull them out when I want to. Will we be able to add on individual promos, or are you sticking with the bulk pledges? Yes, this gets asked every single time, and we cannot, for logistical and insanity reasons, offer single promos. We're not a store here. We have to put them in packs. Every year people ask us, and every year people get mad at me when I say we can't do it. As it is, making the 4 promo packs that we have in this one, there's 4 different promo packs, is an extremely big amount of effort. And to do individuals, it would be insane. We would be like, you want these 6. This person wants just this one. This person wants 4. We would add months and months, and then we would not be doing content during that time. So we cannot do that. That being said, once a Kickstarter is over, our promos do eventually find their way, the ones that are left over, to the BGG store. So you can wait. I can't promise they'll be there, and I deliberately delay them getting to the Board Game Geek store for a long time. Like the ones from last year's Kickstarter, they're not all delivered to backers yet. There's still, most of them are to backers, but there's still, shipping sometimes takes way longer than it should. So until I'm convinced they're all out, they're not going to Board Game Geek store. And even then, we will take them and ship them to them, and it will be months down the road probably. So you can wait, but I want to get our Kickstarter backers the stuff first. Are there any perks for international watchers? I don't know what that means, but I do appreciate you watching the show. Do you like Funko versus or Disney Arena more? I like Funko better, I think. I wish the dice people were a little easier to tell apart. I have no idea who was apart from a few. Well, that's just the way it works, I suppose. Can we please get a stretch goal for Board Game Breakfast, the musical? Well, Chris wants to put that together. We'll see. If you could design your own hat, what would it look like? I would make more of the two-toned hats. I really like two-tone hats. I see them online, but they're also very, very expensive. I would love a hat that was right down the middle. I've seen some, where it's one color on one side, one on the other side. I don't know. I like that sort of thing. Or, where this part is one color and the brim is another color. And they sell those online, but they're very, very expensive. What percentage of publishers that you ask for Kickstarter promos say yes? Oh, I wouldn't know. I have a big master list, but every year it changes, and sometimes they say no because they just don't have the ability to do so. So it's not like a negative thing. If you don't see a publisher in the Kickstarter project, it's not because of anything, any reason. That sometimes they just weren't able to do it. What's the highest stretch goal that you've planned out? Well, the highest one that's on the Kickstarter right now is for us to get a Dice Tower van. So this has been something we've been talking about for years. I would like to get a van, wrap it in Dice Tower logos, because that'd be cool. And then we need a van because we're always traveling and taking things up to the retreat and to Dice Tower East and to the cruise and things like that. So having a van that would use for that purpose. But also then we would do some road trips here. We'll start in state Florida, going to different gaming stores as time permits and stuff, and maybe say, hey, we're going to go to Tampa and do a game night there. Oh, we're going to go maybe to Orlando and do a game night there, working with local game stores in different areas. I think that would be a lot of fun. How many times have you moved home in the past? Oh, a lot. Okay, so we've been at this place for almost 9 years so that we just moved from. Before that, we lived in that home for 3 years, I think. 3 or 4 years, either way. So I've moved twice in America. When I was in Korea, I lived in 1, 2, 3 houses, 4, 5. So I lived in 5 different places in Korea. So that's 5 plus 3 here in Florida, that's 8. Before I went to Korea, I lived in 1, 2, 3. So it's 11 houses I've lived in / apartments in my married life. As a child, not counting college, I lived in 1, 2, 3. So 3 houses. There might have been a 4th when I was a baby. I don't remember. So this has been the longest we've ever been at a place. This is the first time I've ever owned a property. Well, owned. So I don't plan to move for a long time. Do I have any hopes to add more core Dice Tower staff in the future? It is not on my immediate radar to do so. I wouldn't mind adding people. You know, I'd love to have more people to work with. But we're trying to. Inflation went up quite a bit over the last year. I don't know if you noticed that. So I'd rather make sure I'm paying the people who work for me than get more staff. I'd love to get more staff at some point, but right now there's no immediate plans. What are your thoughts on Eurogames dominating the hobby? They don't. I get the shipping problem. Can I pay for a high-res photo of one of the graphics so I can make it myself for the game? Well, yeah, that's one of the pledges, actually. You can get the internet graphics. Why is Cosmic Encounter Duel so unpopular? People keep asking that. I guess people don't like it that much. You can watch my review. I didn't think it was that great myself. Is there any place you can see the full results from the people votes for like the top 100? No, I only put up the top 100. I don't usually go farther than that. Hi, Tom. Are you surprised with the resilience of the original Terraforming Mars? No. I thought Ares Expedition would get more traction, but people still seem to prefer the original. Sure, but I think more people are playing Ark Nova than Terraforming Mars. We'll see. With the change in format, will you be offering guest spots on Board Game Breakfast or Board Game Smorgasbord this year? No, we're not. Those are going to be in-house. Don't get me wrong, we really appreciate having people come on and all. But it was too difficult to everyone complained all the time because we're running a live show with different things. People complained about the quality all the time. That's one of the main reasons, or that is the main reason that we don't have Mr. Bonagor on anymore, because we just could not do that streaming. It just was always wonky. It's so much better to do everything in-house. Thank you, Bruce, for the super chat. Looking forward to seeing you at Gen Con. We are looking forward to seeing you also. Would you consider going to Aircon or UK Games Expo is a stretch goal. Well, I'm not going to say we won't go to UK Games Expo. We're not adding it as a stretch goal. AirCon we can't go to because it's the same time as Dice Tower West. So we're going to go to Dice Tower West. Now with Universal Monsters and Squid Game at it, how many more sets before you re-rank Funkoverse? I don't know. Maybe I'm done with it. I haven't even played Squid Game. They didn't send that one to me, so who knows? I don't know if it's out yet. So maybe I'll re-rank them. I would wait another 2 or 3 sets before I did that. Looking forward to seeing us at Dice Tower West this year. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there also. Have I ever come to Greece? I've not been to Greece. I'd like to be to Greece. Has it been said when your Z's and Mike's Anticipate list is coming? That's this Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You mentioned Veronica Mars over breakfast today. What are your thoughts on the TV series? I've only seen very brief snippets of it, so I don't have any thoughts on it really one way or the other. Did we get a copy of Darkest Dungeon? We did not. Just got your 2022 stuff yesterday. Well, I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm glad you got it. Do we have any choice of theme each year, and how do we choose one? We just have a big talk about what theme we're interested in, and I was like, we've not done fantasy yet, so that was where we went. We all talk about it and throw out some ideas. Last year was dinosaurs, we did superheroes, we did monsters, and it's fun to pick the different themes. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see us circle around back to some of these themes at some point. But this one was a lot of fun, the fantasy one. I've not played Marvel's Midnight Suns. Isn't that the one that's very similar to, let's say, XCOM? That's what I've heard. You think there are too many games being released? Well, I don't know that I think there's too many games being released. There is too many for any individual to do so, which is why we ask that you back our Kickstarter, because we kind of point out the different games, and hopefully then you can watch us and find the ones that you're interested in. You don't need to get them all. With WizKids re-releasing Ascending Empires and addressing the design issues, do you think it will achieve a wider popularity, or do you think the 4X Dexterity combo is too odd? I think it's still too odd to become hugely popular, but I think it will be enjoyable. It is also not the only game coming out in this genre. There's one from, I think, Matt Leacock coming out also. Is Dice Tower West Library different than Dice Tower East? Yes, Dice Tower West Library is much bigger than the Dice Tower East, but the Dice Tower East is refined like a fine blade. They're both really good libraries. Dice Tower East, you can find it on, I think if you go to dicetowereast.com, you can find it there, I think. Dice Tower West, I'm not sure where there's a list of that library, but if you can think of a game, it's in Dice Tower West. Is a Kickstarter related to the Dice Tower promo Board Game Geek Store items? Though those are promos from Kickstarters years gone by. I saw recently on Twitter a designer saying sales across the industry is down. That's possible. I haven't really talked to a lot of publishers about it. We'll have to see. Chuck says the board game bands, he recommends them for sure. They really are nice bands. They're fantastic. I haven't seen Avatar: The Way of the Water yet because I wasn't really a big fan of the first Avatar. I thought it was fine. It was enjoyable. It was beautiful graphic-wise, and I very rarely go see movies in the theater. They're expensive when you have a lot of kids, and I could, even if I blow off the kids and go out with my wife on a date night, that's still not a cheap thing to do. Because for me, that requires us, that's 2 movie tickets plus popcorn, and I get it. I could cut the popcorn, but I always get super tired and sleepy in the movie theaters. The popcorn helps keep me awake. But, when you mix, even with all that in the mix, that's still more expensive, and I can just wait till it comes out on one of the streaming services. Yes, I know seeing in the theater is really cool, but it's expensive. Did I mention I just bought a house? I'm a poor man right now. Please bring back the Transport Dice Tower Resources box. I feel like I can never have enough of those. I can never have enough of those. I get them by the 1,000. I can only afford one this year, but if I can attend any of the 3, I live in Miami. Which event do you recommend for a first-time attendee to go to? East Cruiser Retreat. Whew, that is a tough one. I don't know. It depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for sheer gaming retreat, if you're looking for sheer entertainment and fun and all kinds of stuff, the cruise, food. If you're looking for a wide mix of options, East. Also, if you live in Miami, email me and and come to cool stuff. Some Tuesday night we'll game together. Favorite dice to roll? 12-sided dice. They're the best. Will Trivia Games be returning to Board Game Breakfast or Smorgasbord anytime soon? No, but we're talking about starting our own new party game show. I'd like to see one of your backgrounds on a shirt like Fantasy One or Dinosaur. We will be adding that stuff to our board game merch, our merch website, which is dicetowerstore.com. I went back and watched some of your old live streams, mostly Testing Tuesdays. Do we still do streams like this? Yeah, sometimes we do that. But now they're called We'll Play It Live. It's the same thing. Let's see here. Tom, thanks for the Dice Tower crew. Will you spill the beans on what surprise you have this year? Well, I'm about to launch the Kickstarter in 3 minutes, but it's not necessarily like a bunch of surprises. It's very straightforward. But here's the thing. I would, a lot of things that happen over the course of the year happen organically. One of the biggest changes we made last year was we had more people do reviews, each review. And I think that's been really good for our channel. But that wasn't something I decided in January. That was something that came up in the middle of the year, and I thought that would be a good idea, and it worked out really well. It's one of the best decisions we made. Other things, like building the new Dice Tower studio, was something we decided at the beginning of the year. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. So I always, I can't outdo the previous year. Like this year, last year we added a studio. This year we'll add 2. So I try to be, because that's also not fiscally sound, right? I don't want the Dice Tower to go out of business. I want us to do okay. And that's why, for Greg Dixon, who just said, describe what Dice Tower looks like 5 or even 10 years in the future, I haven't a clue. And I'm okay with that, because it's fun to, not necessarily know everything in the future. I only have a vision, usually for the Dice Tower this year. Here's the deal. I used to imagine, when I first was in board gaming, I used to imagine people would say, I'm getting ready to launch the project, that's why I used to say, hey, someday the Dice Tower will be gigantic and I'll go hire all my friends. I'll hunt them down. I'll remember people from college and different things, and I'll go hunt down all these people. And then as time went by, you lose touch with those people. But I meant to hire people, hire my friends. What happened was the people I hired became my friends. Someone mentioned that in our YouTube thing this morning. They said, oh, it must be nice to have employees to help you move. Well, you're right, it is. But you know what? If they weren't my employees, I would have asked them. We helped each other move. I'm a blessed man. But we'll see if it happens this year. So let's go ahead and launch this project here, because it just turned to be noon. Now this has this big long drum roll. All right, my project is live. All right, well, I'm not going to stare at this for now. I'm going to go back to Ecamm. We'll come back and look at this in a second. That's a big fat lie. I'm going to move this down a little bit so I can at least see that. Okay, but that's why I can't really say what it's going to be like in the future, because I don't know. But I'll tell you what, this past year, 2 years, 3 years, I've had a great time since we've started. Ever since I was doing it for fun for the longest time, and you can go watch a history of the Dice Tower. And other than, the year where Jack died was not maybe the best of years, but the years just progressively get better. And that's not a put down of anybody who's been in the Dice Tower in the past, but they just keep getting better and better. What board game best reminds you or brings back memories of Final Fantasy Tactics? Well, that would be Adventure Tactics. There's a board game that's very similar to that. And you know, you say that, that's the game I've been playing on and off on my iPad. There's two games I'm playing these days mostly, and that's Marvel Snap and or Final Fantasy Tactics. I'm playing through it again. Tom, Spirited was garbage, don't you agree? Oh, I loved Spirited. It was fantastic. Jess says, I've only lived in 2 houses my whole life? Oh, man. You're one of the most successful channels. What does it take to start a channel? Just start one. I mean, really, when I started the YouTube channel, I didn't expect to make any money from it at all. And in fact, when I decided to go full-time, I was so nervous. I did the numbers. I was like, okay, I think I might be able to get $300 or $400 a month. I'll have to figure out where the rest of the money's coming from somewhere else. You know, and the Kickstarter is what saved my bacon. So I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate the different people who back our Kickstarter and support us. It really is helpful. But hopefully, we're earning it. Like, hopefully you realize that we're putting a lot of effort into it. On the table here, you can't see, but there are board games here. We are going to be taking a look at these board games and review them each week. And I can't tell you how hard everyone here works. I mean, they come in, they work hard. We're not just like, oh, we'll just shoot off a video this week. No, we come in and treat this like a job and do as good of a job for you as we possibly can. I'm trying to make it better as time goes by. With the hat and the tie, you're giving me where in the world is Carmen Sandiego vibes. If you had to steal an international treasure, what would it be? I would not steal an international treasure. But like if I could have one in my house, let's say they were up for sale, a national treasure. The Rosetta Stone, maybe? That'd be cool. Like if people were selling treasures, I don't know, because this feels like a weird thing. I'm not trying to like steal a culture's treasure, but the Rosetta Stone's kind of neat. With the Dead Sea Scrolls, that would be cool for me. I like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Those are two that come to mind. I'm sure there's all kinds of cool national treasures. Nick Cage has already stolen them anyway. What games did you play as a child? Well, you know what? I played a lot, Stratego, Scotland Yard, but I'll point you to that video I just mentioned called History of the Dice Tower, and I talk about this a lot in that video. Ever considered joining Cameo? Well, we have that. It's actually part of our YouTube channel, our Kickstarter campaign. You can back something in there. All right. What's the strangest item you've had on offer on a Kickstarter Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction? I don't know. Strange item. That'd be an interesting one. I don't know off the top of my head, though. Is there a contest? There is a contest. So, with everything else going on in here, and blah, 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 let me find the contest information. Contest for the Q&A. This is for a gift certificate from Game Nerds. All right, you all want good games, cheap games, a huge selection of games, go to GameNerds.com. That's nerds with a Z. And you can help get there faster with a $10 gift certificate or do your shopping. All you need to do is email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, put the word apricot. Apricot. And tell me this. What's the best fruit of that genre? I don't know what they're called. Apricot, nectarine, plum, peach. And the answer is apricot. I think. I like apricots the best there. But anyhow, one lucky winner will get a $10 gift certificate to Game Nerds. Thank you. All right. Let's continue on here. Well, we're almost at, what, 1% of our goal? No, we're at 3%. Well, you know what? That's just going to make me nerve-wracked watching that. Okay. So anyhow, the current Dice Tower crew has great chemistry. I appreciate that. Thank you. Most disappointing Kickstarter I've personally backed is those stupid suitcases that I backed that were supposed to have like batteries in them. You could charge your thing in them, and it just didn't go off very well. What stretch goal brings marbles back? Look, I want to bring marbles back. We're going to figure it out at some point. It will come back in a little bit lesser of a way. What's the most stressful part of setting up for your conventions? What is the most stressful part? Probably moving the library. That's a lot of work. Would you do the Tom rates his entire collection using PubMeeple? I would not. And I'll tell you why, because I just did my top 100, and I use PubMeeple. So people don't know what PubMeeple is. It's a place you can go put up a list and then rank things against each other. That's fantastic. But I did it. I put in my top 190 games, I think, and ranked them all. And I would say about 3/4 of the way through, when I got to the part where I knew it was ranking games in the bottom 50, I was like, I'm done. You know, and I would kind of just fly through those to get back to the ones that were in the top 100. I can't imagine doing that for 8,000 games. I don't even know if PubMeeple could handle that many. Love my father's work, but our second game took over 5 hours with 4 players. What's the real-world playtime of my father's work in your experience? 3 hours, but I also kind of skimmed through a lot of the reading. Any chance the custom tarot cards sleeves will return this year? I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in the Pledge Manager afterwards. Would you still recommend Forgotten Waters? Well, yeah, I haven't changed my mind on it yet. Let's see here. Horde of the Board says, Happy New Year. Any game predictions for this coming year? Well, check out Board Game Smorgasbord from a couple weeks ago where we actually did that and made our predictions for the year. What system do you use when hunting for games to review outside of the popular trending titles or ones you've been sent? I have no system for that. I just have the ones that we've been sent, you know, and or we've hunted ourselves. There's so many games. We never sit around going, oh, we need to hunt down more games. No, they'll show up. All right. Let's see. Francisco says, New Watcher, you guys have a massive catalog. Wish you guys could categorize your videos better so it's easy to find them. Well, we're working on that with our website, which should be launching soon. But I don't know what you mean by categorizing the videos better. I mean, just look for the game you're wanting to. If you're looking to browse through games, I don't know. You have to explain to me what is your like perfect way to do it. What would you want? Have we ever tried to measure any players from foreign countries? Watch the Dice Tower. Well, I actually can give you that information. Let me pull up our stats on that. Alrighty. So let me look here. Analytics. We're going to look at stuff just from 2022. Okay? And geography. There we go. So number one country, of course, is the United States. That's not a surprise. And number two, I don't think will be much of a surprise to you, that being Canada. Number three, then, is the UK. So those are the three big English-speaking countries, and you might expect that the number 4 country would be Australia, but Australia is number 5. Number 4 is actually Germany. So just to give you some of the number of views, 15 million came from the U.S., almost 3 from Canada, 2.6 from UK, 1.3 from Germany, and 1.1 from Australia. All the rest of our views are under 1 million. Then after Australia, we have Netherlands, Sweden, Poland, Belgium, Brazil, France, Spain, Mexico, Denmark, Hungary, Italy, Finland, Philippines, New Zealand, Greece, Singapore, Portugal, India, Czechia, Norway, Romania, Russia, Indonesia, Thailand, Switzerland, Israel, Hong Kong, Austria, Malaysia, Japan, South Africa, Bulgaria, Croatia, Ireland, Serbia, Argentina. Those are all the ones over 100,000. And then finishing up the list here, because it only shows the top 50, South Korea, Chile, Taiwan, Ukraine, Lithuania, Slovenia, Slovakia, Vietnam, and Turkey. That was probably way more information than you wanted to know from that. All right. I listened to probably half season 1 of Magnus Archives and liked it, but have you ever had to skip episodes because the topic seemed too scary for you? There was a couple topics I skipped occasionally. I don't know what it is, because I saw someone like, I can't believe Tom likes this, but for some reason when it's in audio form only, it's a little bit less scary than seeing it. And there's also not a lot of jump scares in the show. There's a couple, but there's not a lot of jump scares. So it's, you know, when you say there was a spider crawling on someone's hand and I don't see the spider, I can imagine it, but it just for some reason is a little less scary. So I've skipped maybe 1 or 2 maybe, but not many. Midnight Suns is XCOM meets Slay the Spire. Well, that's an interesting combo. Sharon points about where you can see the library on dicetowereast.com or tabletop.events. What's your favorite type of thing to see in a museum? Dioramas, I think. I really like them. I shouldn't even say I think. I know that. Like, I go to a museum, and sometimes I'm just not as interested. I go and I'm like, oh, there's ancient pottery from around the world. I mean, it's kind of cool, but you just look at it for a while. But, like, I'll go in and I'll be like, here is, you know, like a parade formation of these soldiers, or just here's a village and everyone's having a good time in the village, and it just shows this big diorama, and I'm looking around it. It's like a Where's Waldo. You're looking above. They're so cool. I love those. And if I go to a museum, they're my favorite thing. That and interactive stuff. I always like pressing buttons and things, but I really like dioramas. Just curious, since the Fox experiment hasn't been released yet, but you had a prototype, will that be present on the cruise? No, there'll be no prototypes on the cruise. I always regret bringing prototypes to something because they're hard to teach. They get beat up much more than other things. So I don't think you'll hurt for games on the cruise. There's quite a few going to be there. Did you back Spintronics? If so, what do you think? Well, look at this, Spintronics. I'll be reviewing it this week. Do you have any thoughts on Hasbro Wizards overprinting cards and hurting your secondary market? You know, I don't really know a lot about that subject. I don't have a lot to throw down. When it comes to macroeconomics, I'm like, oh, wow, they might, you know, that's what people say they did. I guess they did, you know, but I don't know a lot about it other than hopefully that things will get better for them. All right, let's see here. By the way, just as a straight up, people ask us all the time, there's no more Dice Tower Cons coming for a long time. Our Dice Tower Cons are not tremendously profitable, and they're a lot of work. We cannot add a 5th one, or I will die. So we're just going to concentrate on the 4 that we have as it is. Did I read Alcatraz vs. Evil Librarians by Brandon Sanderson? I did not yet. I'm actually reading his current, secret book that he did his Kickstarter. So he did a Kickstarter where he wrote 4 books, and so the very first one I'm in the middle of reading, and for some reason I cannot remember the name of it. Whatever, it's around here somewhere. But I'm in the middle of reading that one. Top 5 popcorn flavors? Just whatever I decide to put on it. Although I just had a cotton candy one that was pretty good. Let's see here. Is it possible to use the Dice Tower promo cards in Chronicles of Crime? Sure, email me and I'll send you a scenario that they work in. Hey, we hit 10% in 15 minutes. Let's quick make a banner. No, I'm not going to do that. 10% hit in 15 minutes. People are like, that's a weird thing to be bragging about. You're right. I'm never going to be I'm always going to be on pins and needles until it funds. You'll notice the funding goal is higher than previous years because inflation tends to do that. Am I the one who wants a shirt with some of the worst board gaming covers ever? Maybe. When multiple Dice Tower members review the same game, are you playing them together or are you playing them with different groups of outside people? Yes. It's all different. When are the Dice Tower Awards? They start in, they're awarded in July or August. I have to say that I watch way more reviews now. They're mostly group reviews. So that's an interesting thing for us. So we looked over over last year. I do my stats at the end of every year, and I look at all the different stats and things that are happening. And I always am interested to see things that happen. And one thing that happened in 2023 is that our videos were watched a minute longer, and that's a huge difference in YouTube terms, than they have been previously. Like, people are watching our videos longer. Now, our views went up slightly from 2022 to 2021. 2022 was better than the last several years, but by minutes watched, it blew the other years away stat-wise. So I thought that was interesting. All right. Well, I appreciate this question. Will there ever be a Dice Tower podcast? That's where the word Dice Tower first came from. We had a podcast. We did 700 episodes. And it does still happen in a form. In fact, we're going to be doing that today at 3 o'clock, which is just a few hours away. Me and Eric are going to do Tom and Eric at the table, and that's an evolution of our former podcast. All right, people are back into Kickstarter. That's nice. I'm catching down here. Do I actively watch any other board game content creator? I don't actively watch anybody. I passively watch them. By meaning, I kind of go through and just look at different stuff on the internet. It just happens. I don't have a lot of time to watch stuff because I don't have a lot of time to watch stuff. There's only so much stuff you can watch. Are there too many board game content creators on YouTube? I don't know. Everyone always says, are there too many? What do you mean by that question? Like, do you think some of them should quit? If the market always sorts these things out, are there too many fast food restaurants? Well, then some will go out of business. But in YouTube, there could be people, because there isn't, the only currency is views. And if you have a few people watching, you can survive on that. Like, if I open a restaurant and only a few people come eat there, I'll go out of business. But a YouTube channel, if you don't care about making any money from it at all, you can, just keep getting notifications on backers. Thank you. But you can keep making content even if there's only a few backers. When you hit the 6 RPG sessions goal, would that be D&D or some other system? Well, we haven't decided yet. We could do D&D. We could do space. We could do horror. Who knows? We'll figure it out if we hit that goal. Oh, yes, Chris says a Dice Tower ban would help us move in the future. Good point. I waited. I should have did this last year. I've never backed your Kickstarter before because, honestly, I didn't watch your content. Very reasonable. But the changes you made over the past few years have been drawing me in, and I'll be backing this year. Well, that's very nice of you to say. Horror of the Board says $224.792 as a goal is a strange number. You're probably looking at it, translate it into a different currency, because it's not that in my currency. So maybe you're looking at it in pounds or something to that effect. I don't know. What can we do to help Dice Tower be better? Well, back to Kickstarter. Seriously, I just keep watching. That helps us out a lot. Spread the word, tell other people, and if you can afford it, supporting us. But I mean, other than that, I like feedback, of course. I always feel bad because I tell people to give feedback, but we don't always do what everyone tells us to do. So, out of all the Dice Tower crew, which person would you most want to guard you who slept in a dungeon? Probably Fuzzy, because she would wake up and bark at anything that moved. Any thoughts on running a tourney for a particular game at Dice Tower East or Dice Tower West? Though I do love the Wits and Wagers game night. Something is happening, but I'm not announcing it yet. When I get back from Dice Tower Cruise, we'll be working with West on our slate of things we're going to do, and we'll announce that there. How can I find out how Kickstarter works? Okay, this is a legit question. Do I just pick from the amounts I see and pay that amount? I have no idea how Kickstarter works. Is there a video? Okay, well, the way Kickstarter works is you pick a certain pledge level that you're willing to back us under, or any Kickstarter. You click the button, you go through. Nothing happens unless it funds. It has to reach the amount that they pick to fund. If it reaches that amount by the end of the Kickstarter, then it ends, and then your card will be charged for that amount. Then a certain amount of time later, it could be weeks, months, you'll get a pledge manager sent to you where you will pick exactly what you want to get based on what you pledge. Sometimes it's just pressing a couple buttons, putting in your shipping address, and that's it. Thinking about Dice Tower Cruise. I love board gaming and I love cruises, but aren't you doing one at the expense of the other? No, not really. Because I've gone on cruises where I haven't board gamed, and then I wanted to board game in my free time. I've been at conventions where I've been board gaming, and I'm like, man, I wish I knew where I was going to eat right now. It is half and half, for sure. But for those of us who love it, it is a great mix of the two halves. I don't know a lot on Wizards of the Coast changed their open gaming license. I always thought that open gaming license thing was a really cool thing that they did. But I don't know about the changes, even though I think most of the changes are currently rumored. Have you seen Glass Onion? Yes. Were I able to figure out who done it? I was, actually. I don't know that I necessarily figured it out from clues, per se. I just went by, this person seems to have a strong motive. Just verifying the ice cream socials for this upcoming Dice Tower West? Yes, it is. Looks like you'd be forced to play a game online, Tom. Oh, noes. Whenever Tom wears a hat, I think of Red Hat Linux. I've been asked that question before, for sure. I'm always, whenever it's the Red Hat, it's either Red Hat Linux or it's Carmen Sandiego. Or people just say, nice hat. Will I be able to pick more than one promo pack when the pledge manager opens? Yes, you will be. Will you review your own Kickstarter and crowd surfing? Maybe. Is the first stretch goal to start another Kickstarter to fund a Discord? Well, also for us to start a Discord would require a lot of effort and time on our parts. That's why it's a stretch goal to do so. How many new games do you add to the library in a year? I don't know. We do take games out almost as much as we bring them in. A good way is, at last year at Dice Tower East, we had 25 gaming shelves. Right now in Dice Tower Cruise, we have 26. But I think the year before that, we had 24. So that's a shelf a year, but you're going to see that get pulled back a bit. And also, like, one of the shelves, so like, for example, on the cruise, shelf 26 is just me throwing a whole bunch of new stuff on the shelf. That's all not going to stay. So I'm like, no one's playing this, it's out. And some of that, like, oh, this game's very popular. Let's find a spot that it goes on the shelf. No one's playing this one. This one's out. This one's in. I want a library that's active and used. Do you think that board games based on action role-playing video games wouldn't ever work out well? Whoops. Due to cinematic ambience, expansive world, and motion-driven gameplay of action RPGs. Yes. Diving into the wonderful world of Japanese imported games this year. Does anyone on the Dice Tower also dabble in this side hobby? I don't really consider that a side of the hobby. That's just part of the hobby. I mean, I've always been kind of mind-boggled at just... It's almost like if something's rarer, it's cooler. And that's not true. Japan makes some amazing board games. So does India. So does Indonesia. So does China. So does Korea. All over the country. And importing it is a lot of work. Playing these games, printing out the rules is a lot of work. But for some reason, for some people, that makes it cooler and better, I guess. The best ones of these will get imported and reprinted by other people. Love Letter is a good example of that. That was a game found in Japan and then brought and did really well. So that's kind of where I'm at. If I get some of these cool little games and play them, that's neat. And if I don't, that's okay. For games like My Father's Work and ones that require apps, do you think there's any hope for these games that paper backups for 10 years plus in the future where we might not have iPad products or access? No, but also, so hopefully they'll still work 10 years in the future. If we want to back a larger pledge, but still want to add some stuff like the dice bags or dice or meeples from the Kickstarter, we'll be able to do it in the Pledge Manager. Right. You can also add the money in now, and when you get to the Pledge Manager, it will already be there for you. Would you recommend playing ISS Vanguard on the cruise, or is it too much to dive into for a single session? You could play it. It would be a lot of work, I think, but you got hours. Why not? Is the Dice Tower Library open to the public on regular days? Not really. I mean, but if you're in the area and you want to come by and game with us, it's possible, but realize that it might have to be in our downtime too. Let's see here. Do you have any core rules when organizing a game in library? No, it's a gut reaction, but it's one of the few things I kind of micromanage, deciding where games go in the library. I really like doing that. I like figuring out where games go. I was telling Wendy when these games come back, I'm going to reorganize sections of the library that are just bugging me a bit because they don't seem as clean as the rest of the library. There's a lot of cool things too. Let's see here. Lots of people are talking about different Kickstarters. We're almost at 20%. That's nice. Best game to play sitting next to someone on an airplane, one of the button shy games, or I found playing games on an iPad works really well if you have something, or a tablet. I shouldn't say iPad. Okay, since we're almost to the end here, I'm kind of just skimming through the questions. I'm not going to get all of them. I apologize. Who am I rooting for in the NFL playoffs? I guess the Dolphins or Eagles. Dolphins, that's where we live now. Eagles is where I came from. But, is Dragon Tom eating key lime pie in the Flamecraft promos? He is indeed. What's your top 3 shows of last year? We actually did that in one of our Board Game Smorgasbord. You know, Board Game Smorgasbord, we have a top 3 often. Is there somewhere you can see a list of board game companies or vendors that will be at Dice Tower West? I don't know if that's been released yet, but I don't even know if I know what they all are, but I'm sure that will be released soon. How much prep work do you do for reviews? Okay, so when I get a review, I take the review, I read the rules for the game again, I set it up, I teach it. That's like the main thing. Well, I always do that first before the rest of the review. That way it's kind of in my head. And I very rarely write out bullet points. I do it for big, giant games. Other than that, I kind of just think about it, then turn on the camera and record it. Usually it's done in one take. Okay, so why I'm really far behind here on questions. So, oh, by the way, lots of people are asking questions, different things. I would recommend watch Board Game Breakfast and Board Game Smorgasbord each week because people ask, like, what do you think about these TV shows and stuff? We review a lot of them in Board Game Breakfast. And people like, what are your favorite 3 things? We do a lot of that in Smorgasbord. It's not necessarily gaming related. But let me catch up here. Were the box bands and deck containers not well received enough to make it on the add-ons list this time? Well, the deck containers, no. But they will probably show up in the Pledge Manager. Funded 20% in 20 minutes. I did not fund 20%. It's not there yet, so that can't be correct. Is it worth going to a Dice Tower event solo? Sure. Any of them, honestly. The easiest one's Retreat, but any event's good to come solo. Again, at Dice Tower West and Dice Tower East, we do a newcomers event. So you come to that, and we try to introduce you to other people so you can play games with them. But at all our conventions, none of them are so big now that you can come. I'm not kidding. Come find me and say, can I get into a game with somebody? And I will go and find you people to play a game with. I will get you in games. Alrighty. Well, I'd love to answer more questions about this, and we might do another Q&A at some point about this. But I'm going to check out here for now. I'll be back at 3 o'clock with Eric at the table and Kirk Hamilton. So I'll see you all then in a bit. Thank you all for backing this. Go out and promote it. Tell people about it. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Q&A on the Dice Tower, and I don't have it. I did have the right outro. Here it is again.